Hello and welcome to this video. So in this video we will learn about what programming languages we should learn in 2024, which is obvious from the title of the slide. So if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell icon so that you can get notified about the new and upcoming videos on my channel. And if you are already a subscriber, then make sure that you like the videos, share it on social media, and make use of comment box to voice your opinion. So with that out of way, let's get started on the discussion of which programming language is the latest and the greatest in 2024. So instead of taking a subjective approach on programming languages and their qualities, I rather decided to focus on where industry is going and what languages are being used to do what kind of work. So right now in industry, if you are doing system programming, when I say system programming, I mean infrastructure software like operating system, compilers, databases, interpreters, and if you are going into gaming industry where you development, when I talk about gaming, I'm not talking about mobile gaming at all. I'm talking about AAA desktop and console gaming, the big games of having budget more than $100 million and so on, IoT devices or blockchain. So in these fields, C++ and Rust rule. New focus is now on Rust. So if you're going in these fields, you should focus on Rust. The second category of applications are web applications, which involve front-end and back-end development. So for back-end, industry uses Java or Golang or Python or JavaScript. Some places PHP and .NET is being used, but with as time is passing, those projects are far and few between. Yeah, you can make some argument for .NET, but I don't consider .NET a true platform or a true system to be considered because it is limited to Windows and Linux, somewhat limited in Linux. Okay, you can't do things in .NET which you can do in Windows. Yes, there you can run it on Linux, but then there are lots of API calls which you can make in Windows and .NET. You can't do that in Linux. If somebody argues that okay, you can do web applications on .NET, agree, you can do web applications on .NET on Linux, but the problem is that you can't make GUI applications of Windows on Linux. Okay, the API is not available. The Windows API is not available on Linux. So saying that .NET is fully available on Linux, I'm not going to buy that argument. So for high concurrency environment, you might choose Rust or Golang. In some cases, Java will do. So in general, most applications these days are being done using Python, Java, JavaScript, or TypeScript for newer projects, or in some cases, TypeScript is more desirable than JavaScript. But to learn TypeScript, you need to know JavaScript. Golang is really nice. Personally, I would recommend that if speed is not a concern, you should pick Python. And if speed is a concern, then you should pick Rust. If you plan to use Java, I would say no, you should not use Java. Golang is a much nicer language than Java. The learning curve is very simple for Golang. It's very easy. You can learn the entire language in two. It builds quite fast and the language is super nice. Super nice language. Golang concurrency is very well done in Golang. Java is an old language much like C++. I would not recommend learning Java or Golang, although I will recommend learning C because C is like a common denominator of all programming languages because you can write extensions of these languages in C and their interpreter or compilers are mostly done in C with few exceptions here and there. If you are going in the field of AI ML where the latest and the greatest is happening, then you should not look further than Python or Mojo. Mojo is right now very new, but as far as I know, It can execute Python code, if not at very high speed, then at least at comparative speed it can execute Python. And with time, Mojo will become better. One of the plus points of Mojo is that the main person behind Mojo is a great expert of compilers, and MLIR is a new kind of implementation is being done in a language. So Mojo is great. There is a mistake. Desktop application development should not be Lisp and Scheme. Desktop application development, you want JavaScript using Electron and or Rust using Tori, Floem. There are many candidates. Floem, GTK. There are many candidates there in terms of frameworks. So for desktop application development, you should consider learning JavaScript or TypeScript with Electron.js, or you should consider learning Tori using Rust or Floem or something like GTK. So that should cover your desktop application. Or if you want to go old school, then you can learn C++, Qt, that kind of thing. Java, again, I will not recommend for desktop application, even though there are many libraries available for Java. Java is a big no-no for me. Java is not a good language. Trust me, it is not a good language. For mobile development, if you are doing native application development, then you have to stick to Java and Swing. There is no option for native development on Android. You have to go through Java. But you can also develop native applications using Dart in Flutter framework, and JavaScript using React Native or TypeScript using React Native. So this more or less covers most used programming languages in industry. I know I have excluded Ruby on Rails, Ruby on Rails, .NET and PHP. Those are not good languages. You should not approach them. Ruby is a disaster, at least for me. Okay, there is nothing good other than Ruby on Rails in the entire Ruby ecosystem. It is much like Ruby is not like Java. Ruby is much better than Java. Of all these languages, I think Java is the worst language ever conceived. Java should not have been developed. It is a disaster, complete disaster, even though industry uses it in a huge way. You can get a job, you can make a living by doing Java, but it is a worthless programming language. One should never program in Java. I'll make another video where I'll say why you should never program in Java, and I'll put forth my argument there. The technical arguments I will leave right now. So for personal growth, you should consider learning Scheme. The reason is that it is a functional programming languages. None of these languages which I have mentioned here are functional programming language, while Scheme is a functional programming language. The other thing is that Scheme consists of very few constructs. So you have to think before you can do anything in Scheme. The language is very simple, but if you want, you can implement your own object-oriented system in Scheme. Scheme is a very good language for developing compilers. In Scheme and Lisp, the thing is that your code is data, so you can analyze your code very well. So it's a very good language for implementing compilers or interpreters. Although speed is not there, but Scheme is quite fast. It is not C, but it is certainly not slow. Its speed is quite high. The Scheme interpreters are very fast these days. It has true multi-threading, and nowadays we have Geeks operating system, which is a true GNU system because it contains no commercial software. All software in Geeks operating system is fully under GNU GPL compatible libraries, or the licenses recognized by GNU. So the commercial binaries are not there, or the firmware is not there. So that is an extra motivation to learn Scheme because it is done in GNU Guile. GNU Guile is a Scheme dialect. So in general, if you say, okay, so if I want to summarize that, what should I learn if considering all this? So I'll recommend that you should learn JavaScript. JavaScript is applicable at many places. You can do web application, desktop development, mobile development. Number one language I will pick for learning. I will pick Python because Python is for AI/ML, and AI/ML has quite a bit of potential to advance in future. I would probably learn Mojo, and I will learn Rust. So at the bare minimum, I will recommend three languages: JavaScript, TypeScript. I consider one language, not two, although there are two. So JavaScript, TypeScript, Rust, and Python. This is the bare minimum I'll recommend you to learn. Plus SQL. I know SQL is not a programming language in true sense, but SQL is something you should focus on. So Rust, Python, Mojo, JavaScript, TypeScript. I would not consider learning other languages right now, particularly if you are starting your programming career. You should focus on these four languages. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and I know some of you would get very angry on me saying when I say that Java is garbage. It is utterly garbage. Yeah, nobody can convince me on that. So I hope that you find this video useful, and as I said in the beginning, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it on social media, and make use of comment box. Let's argue why Java is a bad language in comments. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.